What's up? It's a view from the Legacy View comic book series, and on today's show, we got a rising writer in the ranks of the comic book world. On our show today, we got Stephanie Williams on the show. She wrote Nubia, all Nubia books DC, Wakanda, and even now My Little Pony. And you probably even seen some of her X-Men veins on the internet. But today, she's on our show to talk about her come up in all things comic books. So, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. It's Chillin Green Box.
Welcome back to the hood. This is Chill on the Green Box with Specks, Thompson interview. And today's show, we got somebody I talk about on the show pretty often. With my success on TikTok. With her books and her character. I got Stephanie Williams. What's going on?
Hey.
For people who don't know who you are and what you do, give them a little brief introduction.
So my name is Stephanie Williams. I'm a comic writer. I think I'm most known for Living Heroes and then also working on Nubia for DC Comics and bringing her back to relevancy. Maybe you've seen some of my X-Men memes before. That's another thing that I'm
Yeah.
probably well known for. I write superhero stuff, My Little Pony. There's a graphic novel that I just worked on from an adaptation from a YA series. So I kind of do it all.
Okay, cool. Um, so I know you're from Carolina. So are you familiar with the green boxes in front of neighborhoods?
So actually, I'm not originally from North Carolina.
Oh,
I am originally from Chicago, Illinois. I've been living in North Carolina for the last about 10 years now, a little over.
okay.
So no, I am not all that familiar.
Okay, so the green box is electrical green box. They're
Hmm.
typically in front of the neighborhoods or apartment complexes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when we was younger, some people, depending how you grew up, you would hang
Hmm.
out at them. For doing interviews, I realized we hang out at them because typically there was a bus stop, so we was there at before school. And after
Yeah,
school, we'll
yeah.
go back and just meet our friends again and hang out and talk around the green box.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
my show is based off that same concept, just chilling, hanging out. Because you've been on podcasts, I've been on podcasts, and people get on for 2 hours and talk about something, and you
Hmm.
never get a reason to support them and any reason to do anything. So my
Yeah,
show is to
yeah.
learn more about the creator, so you'll support you, not just this book or that book or everything, or just follow you in general because they like you as a person.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
No, I love that.
yeah. I know you. Typically, my show kind of run like around an hour, so I know you crunch on time. So like, I'll like cut out some stuff, but I got 4 different segments, and
Okay.
first one's icebreaker questions. So breaking it
All
down.
right.
So
Okay.
just a couple questions. Um, if you had one of the powers in the DC or Marvel universe, which power would you have, or powers?
It would probably be speed. And the reason why that's my answer right now is because I feel like I am juggling quite a few projects right now, and it would just be nice to kind of, I don't know, be able to blaze through them a little quicker than I am. It's going all right, but it would be nice to be able to write as fast as the Flash can run.
All that, yeah. Um, in your downtime, what is one thing that you enjoy doing?
I really enjoy reading romance novels. I haven't really been able to read comics like I did before I started writing professionally as a way to relax because now it's kind of work. But I've always read romance novels, so they've been like my fallback of just, some downtime and just trying to like, free my mind up a little bit.
Um, for me, not being familiar with romance novels, I don't read them like that. So you talking about like the Zane books and stuff like that?
Absolutely not. No. I'm talking about like your Brenda Jacksons, your Beverly
Beverly
Jenkins. Beverly
Jenkins,
Jenkins is really
yeah,
known for
Beverly Jenkins,
historicals and
yes.
stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
No, not Zane.
I told you I don't read them. Um, last question: if you can replace one person in history with yourself, who would you
Mhm.
replace?
Ooh. I don't know. That's a tough one. One person in history would I replace with
Hmm.
myself. And like not have to live the same life that they lived.
I mean, it's you, so you can change it up. I mean,
Oh, then it would be Trump so that I can be in office and we wouldn't be dealing with these tariffs
so
and all the other BS.
so specifically Trump. or just a president?
You know what? A president, but because he's the one currently in office, it would be him.
Okay, okay. All right. Well, that's all I got. I got to speed run it, but people got a good little feel who you are.
Yeah, yeah.
My next segment is called the back issues. It's all about
Okay.
finding about somebody's origin story. So, my questions for that is, where are you from, and what do you call your hood?
Yeah. So I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois, more specifically Harvey, Illinois, Harvey World. Anybody out there, then you would know what that means. Um yeah, like I grew up in the Chicagoland area, rooted for the Bulls, the Bears. Actually, the Bears is why I even got into football in the first place. They are not that great right now, but hopefully this year will be a little different. But yeah, like I grew up loving all things nerdy. Quickly learned that sometimes it isn't best to reveal that to everyone. In fact, I remember in sixth grade, I found like a sleeve of Pokemon cards, and there were some foil cards in there, like the special
Holographic.
holographic glittery ones. Yeah, and I think like one of them was a Charizard. I was like really excited about it because I was like, whoever left this, they're not getting it back. And I remember showing a friend at the time that, and she looked at me like, "Girl, what are you talking about?" And I said, "Oh, well, never mind. I do still love this." But that's when I just kind of got the lesson in. We have friends that like different things, and you find other friends that you can connect with. So there were some guys that lived across the street from me, and they were like huge Pokemon collectors. So we started hanging out, and I had somebody to actually battle with other than my brothers and stuff. So I guess what I'm saying is that I learned early on how to kind of, I don't know, navigate school while also being a huge nerd. Yeah, sometimes I was loud about it, other times I wasn't.
As long as you didn't carry the Burger King Pokemon balls on your hip, I guess you was good.
No, 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 but I did have those.
Um. So, music. Are you a music lover? You like music?
Huge music lover. I'm in my house era music, as all true Chicagoans end up entering. But I listen to almost anything, especially when I'm right. Like music playlists and like DJ sets are my biggest thing. So like right now, I've been listening to Black House Radio, their YouTube channel, also Bisu Bisu. Really love them. But yeah, like I am always listening to music.
Okay, okay. What certain artists got you, or genre, I guess, house genre, got you
Mhm.
liking music? Like, where do you fall in love with music at?
I would say R&B was the first thing that I fell in love with, and even like some old school gospel. And by old school, I can't believe I'm saying is like I'm talking like '90s, your Kirk Franklin and stuff like that. Because that
So that's
was
old school.
uh yeah, I guess that would be considered old school now because it's the '90s, so that's awful, but yes. But definitely R&B. So I was a huge Brandy fan. Monica. I might even listen to Kelly Price with Houston, Mariah
Okay.
Carey, Aaliyah, like everyone. And even now, like I still listen to R&B, even though folks say that it doesn't exist. It does. The artists are still making R&B, especially the Brits. Definitely like Flo, and like Sasha Keeble, I think is her name, but like R&B still exists. So R&B is probably like always my go-to.
Okay, okay. And comic books. What comic book or comic related thing got you into comics?
So I'm gonna have to say it was Archie is what really got me into like actually being invested in comic books. Back when I was growing up, like you could still get comic books in the grocery store. And of course Archie Digest, you can still get those now. But there was an aisle that was near the frozen foods that was like basically like kind of like a little mini comic book store, which was really nice. I would make a beeline there, and I don't know, Archie was the first thing that I kind of gravitated towards because I've always enjoyed slice of life and things like that. So I just got heavily invested in it, and then eventually I did read like some Batman, X-Men, even some Deadpool and Punisher in between that, but like Archie was the main thing that I was just like I was committed to.
Uh, that's super extreme going for Archie to Deadpool, but
Yeah,
um,
that is me even to this day.
Archie. I read a little bit of Archie. I got like two little digest books up there. But since you was
Hmm.
invested, so is Archie a singular story or is it episodic?
It's episodic. So for the double digest, those were like episodic, like mini stories, I guess. Then they actually had the floppies itself. Sometimes those would be episodic. Sometimes, it'd be something that's a story that spanned over 3 or 4 issues, kind of similar to regular superhero comics. But my main thing was really just the digest. I just really enjoyed reading those short stories. Is probably where I grew an affinity for, short stories, and it's then later turned that into like, telling short stories through memes. But I just think, I don't know, I think it's pretty amazing to be able to tell something that is satisfying in as few pages as possible versus, writing a 500-page epic, and we still really don't know
Yeah.
why we're here.
How'd you feel about the spin-offs like the Sabrina the Teenage Witch
Loved
and
it.
the Joseph Pussycats?
Sabrina, Cheryl Blossom, Josie and the Pussycats, of course, all that. Like I was knee deep in the world of Riverdale.
See, I didn't know there's spin-offs. I grew up with the autumn shows as cartoons on TV,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I never knew it was a singular world until I want to say the TV show, but I want to say
yeah,
the reboot of comics. They really did it.
yeah. Yeah, because like the cartoons were definitely like I would watch them before getting dropped off for school because they would play them sometimes in the morning. But yeah, like they're all connected in some way. But I don't know if you want to call it the Riverdale universe or what, but yeah, they're all connected.
But yeah, I think the TV. I mean, I ain't really deep dive in TV show, but I thought it was
Hmm.
funny seeing the characters pop up. I was like, hey, that's
Yeah, yeah,
and there's a band they playing music. That's crazy.
yeah, yeah.
um, well, one of my questions would be like when you find out you was a nerd, but you answered that early. You found that out in
Yes.
sixth grade. Um, well, that's all I got for that. Um,
Okay.
my next segment is called the hotkeys. Being in the
All
comments, you
right.
know all about that. If you don't know, if you're listening, it's when a new character, new writer, new artists get on board, and you want to grab one issues because it might come popular. Like nowadays, it come TV shows and movies, as well
Hmm.
as music. There, but it's on a DJ's turntables. You press and get the club live and get the party started. So
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
the meat of the show, so people know what you got going on, what you're doing, and when I got introduced to you, I was just getting in comics. I started put my first comic out in 2019. I got a, I don't know which one came first, but I had a coworker, and he said he
Okay.
knew you. Herb
Okay.
Thomas. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
And he was like, "Yeah, I got a friend. She just not getting signed to death." I was like, "For real?" And I looked you up, and it was the Living Single uh,
Yeah, yeah.
stories. So I don't know time frame wise you're writing, but what made you start doing comics, or was that your first like branch into it?
So I guess I got to rewind it a little bit. But before writing comics, I was a research scientist
Wow.
and I enjoyed what I did, but my job sucked because my boss sucked. So after having my son, like I was already on the fence and trying to figure out like what I was gonna do. Was I gonna go back to school to get my PhD, or was I gonna like switch careers? So again, like writing is something that I've always enjoyed. And it wasn't until having him that I was like, you know what, let me give it a shot. So remember love romance novels. There was a author who I was reading at the time, and like I just really loved her work and felt inspired by it. So I reached out to her, sent her an email, and she took the time out to answer me, which was really nice. And she was really, really encouraging. And after that conversation, I went out to get a new laptop and I started blogging. So um, my blogs, I would talk about motherhood, but also talk about the nerdy stuff. And, I think one thing I wrote was like how sometimes I felt like, Ripley or Sarah Connor and like all these other mom figures that I see in a lot of popular media that I enjoyed. So that eventually led to me podcasting and talking about those things.
Okay.
There was a podcast that I did called Misty Knight's Uninformed Afro. Where we talked about Black women characters and took an academic approach. So the goal was to introduce people to Black women characters outside of Storm, because that's the one that's most well known if you ask somebody on the street. So I would do these deep dive histories, read everything I could, or basically everything, and kind of distill it so that I could represent this information to our listeners in a way that gave them a full breadth of who these characters were. And also, like, give them a place to start reading because, as you know, for a lot of Black characters, especially Black women, the likelihood of them having a solo is next to none, and you have to kind of piece together their stories by reading multiple things.
Yeah.
So that the idea was to make that a lot easier. So that podcast, I ended up getting invited to the Kennedy Arts Center in 2018 for the Art Summit, and that was like really huge. And I think that's the moment where it clicked, and I was like, okay, so maybe I can actually do something legitimate with this. So the podcast ended, and I had like all this research for our third season that I couldn't do, and I basically ended up pitching my first thing to Sci-Fi Wire, which was the evolution of the Dora Milaje from comics to movies, because Black Panther had just came out that year in 2018. And it was kind of off to the races after that first thing I wrote for them. They invited me back, and I became a regular contributor. Most of the stuff that I talked about, or I mean, what wrote about, was comics related or just pop culture related. And again, like these really deep dives into these characters that I loved, and even ones that I didn't like, to just kind of treat them in this profile way to give people an idea of who they are, but also to highlight what an amazing medium comics is for storytelling. And then doing that, I was also like making these memes or whatever. And at the time, I didn't really think that it was, comic writing, because why would I? But I don't know. Someone said something one day. It was like, you're always talking about comics and you're doing these funny memes and stuff. Have you ever considered writing comics? And I hadn't, because it just wasn't something that I thought that I could do. And I eventually went out and got House of X, Powers of X, the director's cut, and looked at Jonathan Hickman's scripts to kind of teach
Yes.
myself how to write scripts. In hindsight, that was foolish, because why would you want to do that to yourself? It's Jonathan Hickman, but it gave me somewhere to start. And from there, Parenthood Activate came. And then But What If Though, and out of But What If Though came Living Heroes. And the rest was kind of history. When an editor from Marvel reached out to me to write my first pro thing for them in Marvel's Voices Legacy #1. It was a short 2-page Monica Rambeau story, but they reached out to me not because of any of the comic stuff I actually worked on. Um, it was because of an article that I wrote about the best butts in Marvel. So, like, even then, I guess I was always destined to head that way. And I'm glad that I just went ahead and started making comics so I can at least show and prove. So, saw that article. I'm sure she saw some of my comic writing and called me up.
Okay. So basically, you came out of COVID, or a little bit
Um,
before COVID.
yeah, actually before, because I was writing articles and
No, I
stuff,
mean actual comic.
as an actual comic book writer. Yes, I did, which is a testament to, the hard work that I've been putting in, because there's a lot of stuff that came out of COVID that is no longer
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
which is unfortunate.
yeah. It is. Um. So, um, how do you find how? Well, I know you did Marvel voices, but how do you find the voices for these characters you write? Because I guess it's a little bit different when you write it versus the other previously. Because you're picking up some characters that is like sometimes lost in time. So how do you how you
Uh,
bring them back? I guess like Monica Rambeau, like we haven't seen her for a while. Then you write her.
yeah. Well, I had been a Monica Rambeau fan for a long time, so I was like very familiar with that character. So like reading all the past stuff, even the semi-current stuff, which the last time she was like heavily featured was of course Next Wave, and then also Al Ewan's Captain America and the Mighty Avengers and the Mighty Avengers run, and also what was it, Ultimates. So I don't know, like for me, like because I treat these characters as though I'm doing like a actual profile piece on a real person. I guess in that way I'm able to kind of speak through them by making sure that it is clearly their voice and not necessarily mine. um that's the way that I've always gone about stuff. So even when I wrote Nubia and she didn't really have that much of a history, I still went back to read her first appearance, but also just to get an idea of who the Amazons were. And I felt that George Perez and Greg Rucka all did a really great job of showing us, you know, where Diana came from and why she is so great. So the idea to me is if I can, figure that out, then I can also write a story for Nubia for people to find out how great she is, and where she comes from. And it's not based on her proximity to Diana, because they wanted us to change her origin story to something new, which I already knew was going to be,
Oh
it
yeah.
was going to be touch and go. But I am thankful that we were able to do what we did, which was to have her come out of the well of souls so that she was reborn in Amazon. Essentially, that's what the origin story kind of is. And she was always destined to be one. She wasn't an outsider. She was already a part of the community.
Okay. With Nubia, did you know DC was gonna frontline her like that, or it just happened?
It just kind of happened. I didn't even know they were considering making a Nubia mini series until I spoke to the editor that I ended up working with. And at the time when I spoke to him, they were, she just asked me how I felt about Wonder Woman and all of the Amazons and stuff like that. And I told her I loved Wonder Woman. I did have like some gripes with the character, but overall, like I've always been a Diana fan. So I thought that I was just writing a short 8-page story to go in an anthology, which I did do. And I had Nubia included. And it wasn't until, I don't know, like a week or two after handing in that script that I found out that I was supposed to be working on Nubia in the Amazons with Vita Ayala. So that was news to me. But it was I don't know, very thankful for that experience, because that was a huge undertaking, especially to, be so fresh in writing comics, and to be tasked with bringing a character back to relevancy. That was a huge task, but I can look back on it and I did it.
I'm familiar with your Marvel works. What other DC works have you done besides Nubia?
I've written a Superman and Wonder Woman short story that was in a holiday anthology, which was really fun. Wrote a Bumblebee story that appears in World's Finest Annual. What else have I done? I've done some other stuff that I can't think of right now. I'm working on some other stuff right now currently, that does deal with the Amazons, but also something that isn't related to them. Oh, and I also wrote a pretty much like a character encyclopedia that is called Strange and Unsung Character All Stars of the DC
Yes, I seen you
Multiverse,
post that. Yeah,
and that was really
yeah.
fun. So all those characters, I would love to write them one day. In fact, I have been lobbying for a Justice League of Antarctica book,
Oh man.
if DC will let me write it. So I don't know. I'll get closer and closer each day, but we'll see.
Speaking of DC letting you write it, are you familiar with I can't think of the guy's first name, but his last name is Piccolo. He does the Teen Titans books.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, he's rep by the same convention. It's not convention organizers, but like it's comic set art. So like when we go to conventions and stuff, like we sit with them. So I've sat next to him, and man, those lines are long.
yeah, because I see you. He hasn't done a Cyborg book yet, so I see
Mhm.
you writing the Cyborg Bumblebee book
Yeah.
because I think interview or something he said he don't feel comfortable doing it. He wants somebody a woman of color to write it, and I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like Stephanie do great on that book.
I would love to. I love Cyborg. I really love what they did with him in that the Doom Patrol show.
Okay.
I thought that was some of like the best Cyborg we've ever gotten. So I am down to do Cyborg.
Okay, yeah, that's dope.
Yeah,
Hopefully, he hears this interview, like ask you.
I hope so.
Your Marvel stuff. You've been all around. You're from Moon Girl to Wakanda.
Hmm.
Um, which one did you enjoy the most?
Oh, that's a tough one. Probably Moon Girl. And the main reason for that is because I got to watch the show before it aired, and my son and I got to watch it together, and it was really, it was fun to kind of bond over that. He really loves the show. He's upset that it's been canceled, but
It's canceled.
that was a really fun experience. To watch that with them, and also, him saying like, so I can't talk to anybody about this until it's out, and I think it was like 4 or 5 months, and I was like, yes, I'm so sorry, but you gotta keep this secret until you can talk about it. And he did. So that was probably the best experience.
I didn't know they canceled it. All of the awards they was getting nominated for, they canceled the show.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
um, um, I looked up. You did some milestone as well.
Yeah, I don't know how I forgot that. So yes, I wrote a Rocket slash Icon story for the Milestone 30th anniversary issue, which was really fun. I would love to write some more Rocket one day, so maybe that'll happen. But yeah, that was fun.
How do you feel about Rocket as a character?
Um, I appreciate her as a character. You know, be nice if her outfit was a little bit different than what it was, given that she was like 14. But I appreciate her as a character. I would love to see her get her just due, which I kind of feel like she is right now. Joe Illiger's right has wrote the Shadow Cabinet miniseries that just came out, and that highly focused on Rocket, but we can always use more Rocket.
You talking about her outfit now, the red and blue?
No, that's fine. I'm
Oh,
talking
okay.
about
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
the old school joint. Which I mean, I also kind of like that still too. I'm a sucker for a bomber jacket, and a superhero wearing a jacket, so I'll always go up for that. But when I found out that she was like 14 and not the 23 that I thought she was, because she kind of looked like Tony Braxton, I was like, oh, okay.
Do you feel they should like tiptoe around the whole her getting pregnant thing, or they should just leave her in the 90s?
No, so I've actually written about this extensively and even talked about it in a panel that I did, but I think that that was really important. It was extremely progressive for the time. Hell, even be progressive now, but I do love that they show her going to Parenthood, Planned Parenthood, and talking to a doctor that kind of shares her experience with her. And she's not being forced to do anything either way. It's left up to be her decision. But I will always talk about that issue in the way that things were handled, because I mean, for the time, I thought it was done really well. The Ironheart series that I was working on before it got canned because the show got moved. I actually was going to have Riri Williams kind of not dealing with teen pregnancy, but have her dealing with something that, she would have to go visit the OBGYN, because we don't really see that a lot in comics. But hey, women have uteruses. And I just, it was inspired by that. But that is a story that folks will never see.
Oh, they might get picked back up, but Ironheart. How do you feel about Ironheart?
I like Ironheart. I think she's a fun character. I really love what Eve Ewan did, as far as picking up where Bendis left off and really fleshing her out way more. But I do like Ironheart.
Do you, what was the character's name? Naomi. You feel a correlation between them two?
Wait, who?
Um, the black chick Bendis wrote in DC.
Oh, I kind of feel like uh she's interesting because she's got a lot going on, but also at the same time I still don't feel like I don't know that character, if that makes sense. I don't know, like she sounds great on paper, but like so far what we've seen, more can be done.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it's a character that of course is worthy of more stories. I just hope she gets them.
Yeah, only thing I followed a little bit. I didn't watch the show at all. I just think
Huge.
they okay. they rushed her. They put it on the Justice League way too quick. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was my thing. Like, dang, it's the Titans, the Outsiders, it's all kind of groups. It could have been.
Yeah, or I don't know, because I don't necessarily have a problem with her being on the Justice League so early, but it becomes a problem because we still didn't really. She got swallowed up in that she wasn't a strong enough character on her own to be on the Justice League and not kind of get lost in the shuffle. Even though her time on the Justice League, a lot of the story kind of revolved around her, it still felt like she was being overshadowed.
Hmm. Makes sense. Makes sense. Um, so I don't know if it's to be indie work or not, but My Little Pony. How'd you end up getting on My Little Pony?
I don't. It's funny. An editor reached out to me for some originals at IDW, and I was in the middle of like trying to pitch for that, and we all know what happened with IDW around that time. I think this was in 2022. This is when they had massive layoffs, and a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of folks who had originals that were going to come out, um, ended up that didn't happen because of the layoffs and everything else IDW had going on. So the same editor before she was let go had asked me about ponies, and I was like, sure, because I don't know, I'm somebody who's not going to turn anything down unless I either one don't have the time or I know somebody who will be a better fit. And My Little Ponies, I thought would be a nice challenge because at the time I was doing a lot of superhero stuff, and I love superhero stuff, but there are other things that I would like to write so that I'm not just pigeonholed into having to do superhero stuff. That is no way to pay the bills.
No.
Like, do it all so that all the opportunities that you can get will come your way. And my son at the a little before then was a big pony fan. Like he loved Friendship is Magic, and that's how I got introduced to the ponies. So that was kind of excited about that because I was like, oh, so now I can put all these hours of time that I put into watching this show with him. I can actually write these characters. So it ended up being the new generation, Gen 5, but it's been really fun writing ponies. Like you can do almost anything with them because that world in itself is just, I don't know, like it's just fertile for outlandish storytelling. They had ponies and Transformers together, like, and I think they're gonna do a pony and GI situation one day. So,
Okay.
it works.
Yeah. My daughter, she don't watch the ponies per se. She watched the ones where they're people, but they're the same
Yeah,
character.
uh
Yeah,
huh.
those.
Hmm.
So it threw me off because I heard the names. I was like, those names are ponies, but they're the people. And I seen like the certain logos of the pony on their clothes. So I'm like, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Um. Uh. That's my train of thought. Oh, you keep talking about pitching. So, um, how do you pitch to these companies? Are you pitching one of the IPs, or are you pitching an idea? Like, what are you doing when you go to pitch?
So for me specifically, and I think this goes for most writers who are work for hire, but usually either editor will hit you up and say, hey, we're planning to do like a couple of one shots or whatever. Do you have an idea for this one shot that'll come out in, I don't know, like October? So of course it'd be Halloween. So I will pitch a story that was, somehow centered around Halloween in some kind of way. For what did I recently pitch? Oh, the most recent My Little Pony story that I wrote that'll be out. Editor reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to write some more ponies?" And I was like, "Yeah." So they were like, "Okay, well, do you have any ideas or any pitches available for something that will fit in a one shot?" And I just kind of went from there. So it was a free for all, but specific for the ponies. And other times I've cold pitched before to editors that I've worked with and just kind of sending them stuff just in case they, just because they haven't asked for it doesn't mean they're not looking for it. And I'll just send something for a character, a specific character. And it's usually a mini series because that's normally what gets greenlit. So something to kind of take this character from point A to point B. And it's something that is relevant for the company, so not just like what I want to do, but trying to speak to what they're currently doing and how it can fit in that, so that boosts the likelihood of them saying yes. A lot of stuff I've had to pitch has been like IP stuff, so other licensed work. But more recently, to creator owned things, I pitched. Mad Cave reached out to me to pitch. Same thing with Ignition Press; they reached out to me to pitch. I I don't think I've ever like cold like just randomly cold pitched to anyone. If I have, well, if I have, I don't know if it's really cold pitching, but like I at least have a working relationship with the editor. So I'm just, saying, "Hey, have this idea, throwing it out there. If you want it, great. If not, let me know."
Okay. I don't know if your books ever did it, but has any of your one shots ever been, got extended out to a series?
Yeah, so technically Nubia coordination, and it was only going to be a one shot, and then it ended up we ended up doing the miniseries afterwards.
How do you pivot
So
from that?
that's hmm?
How do you pivot from like you wrote a story from a one shot to oh no, I gotta
Oh,
extend it out? Like how do you like oh
so whenever I'm writing something, I always have it in mind that, well, if this does go further, then these are the little things that I've weaved into this story that I can build on later. So for Nubia, like we weaved in her backstory like pre well. So I was like, oh, okay. So like if there's another series, then I could just kind of really dig into what her life was like before she came to the well and how it ties into her present day. So yeah, like if whenever I'm pitching something and there is a small chance that it will get an extension, I'm just thinking of the little things that I seeded in that one shot that I can build upon.
okay. Couple more questions, I'll let you go.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
um Independent work, back to that.
Mhm.
Do you have a series or character in mind that you wanna do a creator on project yourself or not quite yet?
So I am actually working on two creator owned projects, all original characters. One of them is a cosmic horror that's with Ignition Press that was recently sort of kind of announced, but we haven't given any details. But I'm actually working with Leticia from House of Slaughter. That's the artist on that book.
Okay.
So she's working with me, and Juliet NECA is going to be the cover artist for that. The most that I can say about it is that it's a cosmic horror, and um, it stars a black chemist who's a woman. So there's that, and then the thing that I'm doing with Mad Cave is it's a sci-fi, I guess, adventure. Think if Roland Emmerich would have directed Time Cop type of
Okay.
situation. Again, starring a black family. The lead is a black woman, of course. But yeah, those are two things that I'm currently working on. That actually temporal, where the that comic is done. The other one I'm still working on. I'm like on issue 3 right now.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Since you're working on so many projects, what is like the work like balance with that? Because it's so many books you got to write at the same time, and you still got other stuff you son and stuff going on.
Yeah, yeah. So this is my fourth year doing it, and I have a much better system. Outlines are my best friend because they allow me to um, kind of weave in between work that's at different stages and different genres and different formats. Because I'm also writing a comic right now that is actually for a webtoon format. So outlines are my best friend. That is where I try to lay everything out so that I can easily, see where I'm headed next, or go back and reference something if an editor has a question. And then I don't work on the weekends like I used to, but I don't do it anymore unless I absolutely have to. But I don't work on the weekends anymore. It's from, when I get up in the morning, which is around 7, 6 or so, until maybe 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. Sometimes if the mood hits me, and I'll probably, write a little later, but that has really helped me keep, I don't know, to make sure that the work isn't overtaking my life. Because at one point that was the case, because I wasn't saying no to anything. I was scared that if I said no to something, then I would not be writing anymore. Because I'm somebody who really firmly believes that it is important to keep momentum going, especially in this industry. So whatever I could say yes to, I would, and I almost burnt myself out doing
Oh
that.
man. Yeah. How far do you you plan your projects out? So like it's like like okay, 3 months you gotta have it out, 6 months. Or how far down the pipeline is it?
So thankfully, I've been able to work with editors who will set the schedule. So for instance, right now the thing that I'm working on that's kind of webtoon related, or it's not going to be on webtoon, but it's a vertical comic. Those scripts are due every week.
Oh,
So yeah, those are due every week, and they're like 60 to 80 panels, which sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. But again, because of the outlines, like I just know
like,
where I'm supposed to go
like
next.
12 pages.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's more than that, depending. Yeah, about 12, maybe 15 pages a week. So that, and then for the bigger things like the 22-page comics, 24-page comics and stuff like that, I have it where, the same issues aren't due on the same day.
Okay.
So I've been able to, when the editor sent me the schedule, I was able to say, okay, this works. When another editor sent me a schedule, I was like, okay, this works, but this needs to be changed because I knew I had something else that was due that day. So I try to stagger things if possible. But so far so good. I've been doing a better job of not waiting to the last minute to do stuff. That was like my MO for a while, but that's just really no way to function. And again, I cannot stress this enough. Outlines are your best friend. They are keeping me sane.
Okay. Um, One last question I got for
Uh-huh.
you. What advice you give my artist, writer trying to come in? What's the best advice for them?
Discipline and consistency, best friends. They're gonna get you far. I think I posted this on social media today that discipline for the craft is always going to outwork just sheer talent for the craft, because you can be really good at something, but you don't have the discipline to do the work every day or consistently, then you may or may not get anywhere. And this industry is competitive as all jobs are, and the only way that people can find you if you are consistently doing the work and putting out the work. So that would be my biggest thing, to stick to the thing, finish the book, finish the pinup, finish the sequential art, finish those things up, because like ideas are great, but they don't become something that is tangible until you're able to mold it into something that people can actually experience. So do the thing.
Okay, okay. Well, this has been great. Great. We finally got you on the show.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Um, and where can people follow you, or if you still got your blogs or anything, where they can see all that stuff at?
So I have a newsletter now. It's called Press Start to Story. If you go to my Instagram, Threads, or Blue Sky, you'll find a link to it, or my link tree. But on Instagram, you can find me at Steph_I_Will. On Blue Sky, I have no idea. Just search Stephanie Williams. I don't know how that thing works. Um, you can also find me on TikTok, although I have not posted in a very long time. It's at Steph_I_Will. Also, my website, whystuff.com. And if you are a fan of The Boys, Invincible, Jim B, even the Critical Role show that's on there, I have a show on YouTube. It's actually on the Prime Video channel. It's called Superhero Club, and I'm always covering Invincible and The Boys, Jim Beam, all the superhero stuff. I cover it. So if you ever get a chance, look into that.
All right. Once again, it's been great. Thanks for coming on. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.